Hi, everyone. Welcome. Happy Wednesday. Thank you for joining today's webinar, Localized Competitive Intelligence for Brand Success. We're thrilled to have you with us. I'm Deepti, Marketing Operating Manager at Grow by Data, and I'll be your host for today's session. In the next 30 minutes, we will dive into how leading brands are gaining a real edge by shifting from national, regional, and up to zip code level insights. You'll learn how to uncover regional trends, optimizing pricing, and boost visibility where it matters most. Guiding us through this conversation is Prasanna Dhungel, co-founder of Grow by Data. Prasanna has partnered with some of the world's top brands and agencies, helping them leverage localized data to sharpen strategy and improve performance. Whether you focus on marketing, analytics, or brand strategy, today's session is packed with insights you can put into action immediately. We'll wrap up with the Q&A, so feel free to drop your questions in the chat anytime. Let's get started.
Thank you so much, Dipti, and welcome to everyone to the webinar today. It's an action-packed, fun-filled topic to cover about how you can really use localized competitive intelligence from search everywhere, which encompasses Google, AI, LLMs, and more to really retain and boost your competitive advantage. We are Grow by Data, have been in business for our 12th year running, work with some of the largest brands in the world across many different categories in retail and outside of retail. So the first question you may ask is, what can you learn about competitors? So A, how visible are my competitors nationally and locally by different lines of business? And that's a key insight that you can gain. Second, are competitors getting picked up in the LLMs? Everyone's talking about it. So on Google AI mode or ChatGPT or Perplexity, are competitors getting picked up for my relevant questions or prompts? For three, what's their pricing strategy? Does that vary by local markets? Four, are competitors promoting a different kind of a product in Chicago versus New York versus LA? And are resellers promoting them? In this webinar, we'll just touch on the first three primarily, because you can gain massive insights by understanding, are you visible? If yes, how is your pricing? And then touch on the product strategy. How are we getting this? We're monitoring lots and lots of search terms, lots and lots of questions across search, Google search, and LLMs from many different locations over lots of time, a long duration across different lines of business for you. And we're monitoring how the platforms are changing, who's showing up, what are promotions, pricing, etc. So let's start out with industry trends. So at the highest level, this doesn't surprise you, but Amazon continues to be a key player across categories, though we've seen softness recently over the last few weeks. Chain leads apparel from a visibility standpoint. They're spending huge on Google Shopping ads, and they just are right there. Ashley and Wayfair are strong in the home furnishing space. Amazon, Walmart are strong in computers. They're strong in sports also, and Amazon strong in auto parts. Now, across thousands of source terms we monitor, here's the landscape by different competitors across categories. And what you'll see is there are certain categories where Amazon's strong, that's pushing, certain categories that Target's pushing, certain chain is pushing, and so on. But if you're a multi-category, multi-regional retailer, having this landscape is key to understanding where you're doing well and where you might be having softness. Now, start out with a question here, get things going.
Okay, so the question for the poll is, do you know how you stack up against competition by your top markets on LLM, ChatGPT, Google AI mode, and Perplexity? So I'm gonna give about 2 minutes or so to proceed with the poll.
This is a fascinating topic. Our clients are asking us, we're all asking. How, you're a global brand and you've been doing well on Google, but how are you doing on some of these LLMs is a top of mind question. I'm very curious.
Yeah. If you want to quickly share the screen, Prasanna, I think it just got cut off. If you want to show your screen again.
Is this showing now?
Just your face right now.
Oh, okay. Before Ash did it happened. Can you see my screen?
Yep, now it's showing. Yep.
Okay, thank you. So let's move on. As we start to get the results, the first question is, sorry, not here. So let's look at some examples of competitor intelligence that you can uncover by looking at the cosmetic category. We covered this on the last webinar, and I will present some findings. This is obvious. So some of the top domains visible in the cosmetic category, YouTube, Reddit, TikTok, etc., doesn't surprise. Um, Sometimes some of the other brands and retailers are rising and falling, but with LLMs also picking some of these social channels, publisher sites, having strong visibility and really understanding whether you're mentioned and whether you're mentioned strongly in these is a key strategy I do think you should have. But this is just a pulse. It doesn't surprise you, I'm sure. The next one is interesting, which is on Google Shopping ads, the number one player towards April and what we've seen over the last month has shifted. So Amazon was clearly strong going into the end of April, whereas now it's dropped to third position and Target's taken number one. You can see like the share of voice has almost swapped between Amazon and Target. Sephora has gone down from number 2 to number 4 spot.
Prasanna, sorry, I think it's, if you want to just show the screen, we're only seeing the poll right now. So if you want to just maybe show the exact screen.
Sorry, I don't know what's happening today with this. Can you see my screen now?
It shows the poll. If you just want to go to the next
How
slide.
about
Yep,
this?
now it's
Okay,
good.
wonderful.
Good. If you want to quickly recap that.
Okay.
Yep, good.
So this doesn't surprise everyone. I was just touching on this. The publisher and social channels are strong. LLMs are picking them up. So understanding them is important. Then I was just touching on this, which is Amazon and Target have almost swapped positions. Now Target's the leader in terms of share of voice on Google Shopping ads. Sephora has gone down to number 4. And just understanding this, CVS is also very strong in terms of the cosmetics category. This could give you a pulse on what's happening at a macro level. Now let's go then into the local level. So yes, this is at a national level, this is what's happening, but is Target equally strong across the board, across all top markets? Is Walmart strong in all markets, or are they pushing hard in certain markets versus the other one? If you're Walgreens, you might care to know if CVS going strong on all markets or certain markets. And this next slide, which is a bit dense, but still gives you some insight. So Target we've seen is very strong nationally, but then CVS has softness in Denver. And so if you're Walgreens, this could be an opportunity. Then let's look at Amazon. Amazon's softer in some markets like the LA market. And then Walmart, for example, it's number 4, but I can begin to see how in New York, in LA, Washington, D.C., it's not as strong. Whereas Sephora, for example, is really hard on the Washington, D.C. market. So if you're Ulta, you'd want to understand if you're comparing foot traffic and you're comparing yourself versus Sephora and the Nordstroms of the world, how strong are they visible by market? And if you're having softness in a certain market, is it because your biggest competitor is going hard in that market? Or could there be an opportunity for you to double down in a market like Denver if you're Walgreens and really push? So this is an interesting way to look at the market that our clients are using. Now let's move on. you're visible, the next question could be, okay, fine. How do I rank against Amazon? That's the question we always get. So tracking Amazon over the last year in the cosmetics category, we've seen Amazon rise over the summer last year. This year we haven't seen it quite so in May and June, but there's times when Amazon's down and retailers double down. And here's an example. Amazon's dropped visibility from May through June. So could this be an opportunity for you as a cosmetic brand to capture when Amazon's low? Could there be opportunity to move dollars from other categories where these large players are pushing and reallocate it here at a time when consumers might be purchasing? So you want to, of course, tie it to consumer demand, but this is another very interesting data set. Now let's move on to, in addition to visibility, pricing is also important. So we were looking at the cohort of pricing visible, and we were finding that generally speaking, many retailers have approximately the same pricing nationally across top markets, but there were exceptions. So we're finding Avida, for example, was showing average prices, in the $68 range and $100 in LA and New York City. So that's interesting. Likewise, in New York City, we are finding Clinique. I mean, this isn't a major difference, but still, you're beginning to see whether some of these competitors are having a reasonable pricing strategy. So one, you want to be visible. You want to be capturing market when competitors might be weak. And secondly, the other strategy could be when you are visible, do you use a lower entry price as a strategy to land and expand? That's the other intelligence that you can get. Moving on, the third one is really product styles. So again, this is one sample, but you get a sense. Sometimes we know competitors are changing their product design, color, style, etc. with the times, and they're also changing it by different markets. So this is dresses, men's suits in New York versus Miami versus LA, and I can see a different bluish color tinge in the Miami market versus the other markets. So is that indicative of certain trends out there? Is that what's sticking? So you're starting to get ideas. But at the highest level, it's visibility, understand it nationally at a market level, pricing, look at it nationally at a market level, and look at product variation tests that competitors are doing, at a national and a local level. Right? Let's go to the polls.
Okay, for the polls, it looks like 67% said yes, kind of. They are, so they know how to stack up against the competition by the top markets and LLM, and 33% said no.
Okay, right. This is interesting because what we know is there's some solutions out there in the market that monitor LLMs and give you a pulse. Whereas we've known many that don't give you local level visibility on the LLMs. And this is an area that we're actively working on. And the gap we've seen is really local results. Many brands don't know, and they don't know at a local level. And we'll be closely watching that as we build this. So let's move on. Let's move on to the AI LLM topic, which is, again, top of mind for many brands and agency leaders and colleagues across brands and agencies. So here's an example on Google AI mode. I was searching for what are good lip gloss brands for dry lips. You begin to see brands that are being mentioned. And so if you are a brand that wants to be in this and you're not visible, that's a problem. Right? And why this is important is I'll go to the next slide, which is we know that Google AI overviews has been spiking from March, and it continues to rise, and it's generally above the fold on the top of the page, and that's where a lot of eyeballs go. So making sure that you're visible on source terms and soon on prompts, which I'll show you on a slide or two later, is really important. The other key finding for us is we found that in the cosmetics category in the beginning, there were brands like L'Oreal Paris who were pretty strong. But as we've gone into June, I'm beginning to see some of the other domains also get visibility on AI overviews. And why this is important is you should not rest. If you were strong, don't assume that you will continue to be. That's like obvious. But this also shows how some players who are leading in the beginning now are beginning to lose share to other players. And given this is such an active area of work for both Google and the LLMs, as well as for brands, keeping a pulse on who's winning, visibility on AI overviews and LLMs is critical. Now, what I will touch on, the next topic is LLMs. So we touched on Google, we monitor Google, we've also begun to monitor LLMs. And the question that brands are asking us is, what is my visibility on LLMs by market? Not just at a national level. It's really important to understand what is it at a local level. And here's the searching running shoes. So if you're searching for running shoes, this is a prompt. I asked on ChatGPT, and what are good running shoes was the question I asked. It's a general question, and so I'm seeing Nike, Asics, Hoka, New Balance. But if I'm Adidas and I want to be considered, I'm not visible here, and I would like to know it, and I'd like to understand whether I am visible. If yes, how? And if I'm not visible, why not? I mean, that's a key question. So what we do is we monitor the LLMs at a general level with general questions like this, and then at a market level. So let's look at this, right? So this is the same site. I looked at where can I buy running shoes in Boston? And I'm seeing Marathon Sports, Hardbeck Hill Running Company, which I assume is on the marathon trail, maybe not. And I did the same search in Chicago, and I'm seeing Fleet Feet, Roadrunner Sports, and so on. So if I am a brick and mortar retailer that's operating in Boston, like I know there used to be stores for Foot Locker. I don't know if there's any in the western suburbs of Boston anymore. But if there are, and Foot Locker is not visible, then that's a problem. This is the response that I'm seeing in ChatGPT in Boston, and the right-hand side is the response I'm seeing in Chicago. So again, it's important to understand at a global level, am I being considered by the LLMs? And it's also important to really understand whether I'm being picked up by market. Because if you're not, whether it be your brick and mortar store or just on the response at the bottom of the page, not getting picked up is a problem. And so that's why I'm saying you need to really understand your visibility nationally as well as locally across all prompt types, across all your product categories. So what we have begun to do as a business is a lot of our clients are asking us this question. Gee, like, we work with you guys on Google, and we are now having traffic that's coming from LLMs. How do we really make sure we keep a strong pulse on LLMs? And there's 3 questions that brand leaders, strategists are asking. A, am I visible? If not, who is visible? And then the other third question is really, when I am visible, how is my brand portrayed? Is it positive? Is it neutral? Or is it negative? Right? So, and they want to understand this, which is visibility and brand sentiment. And if there is whatever the LLM says, they also want to understand the source. So it's been like the biggest question we're getting is what's brand's visibility? And I'll give you this example. We're doing some work on the auto industry. And so across our cohort of prompts for auto, across electric vehicles, pickup trucks, SUVs, sedans, and so on, again, for our representative prompts, we are finding that Chevy was pretty strong, followed by Toyota, then Kia, and Honda. Now, the question you might ask is, gee, like, why is Honda number 4 and not number 2? It almost like Honda has 17%-ish visibility and Toyota has 28%. I mean, that's a mega difference. So why isn't Toyota, what is Toyota doing to really capture this attention, to this visibility? That's a question that I know many brands are trying to uncover. And the way we try to answer this question, we say like, what is the source? So as we analyze the response to many LLMs, we are uncovering what is the source of the information. And here's a bunch that we found for ChatGPT: Reddit, Wikipedia, and in the auto space, Car and Driver, US News, Kelly's Blue Book, Edmunds, some of the standard important sites, not a surprise. And so the question is, this is one, and on the right-hand side, it's also the number of citations from these individual domains. So it's interesting that Toyota has almost 50% more, if the math's right, yeah, about right, versus Honda. And so what is Toyota doing to get so many citations is a question that you can answer. And then the other part of this that we're working on is when Toyota is mentioned across SUVs or electric vehicles, sedans, what is the brand sentiment? Because you want to be represented, of course, but you want to be represented favorably. And if you are represented neutral or in a negative manner, where is that coming from? And what is your brand strategy to improve that in the midterm? It's almost the world of reputation management. And so we like to say you have to understand your visibility across the LLM engines, blend that, perhaps try to correlate that with your visibility and forces and performance with Google, and then make sure that you're curating the experience by making sure that you take steps to rectify that customer service or weak visibility. So this collectively is the model that we've seen many brands really use to ensure that they are thriving in the age of, we like to say, search everywhere. How do you thrive in this age of search everywhere? And how do you thrive when the brands and market trends are so local? So I hope this was helpful. I mean, this is just an overview. There's just a lot here, but I try to touch on some topics to give you a flavor of the type of insights you can get with localized competitive intelligence from Google as well as LLMs. And happy to answer any questions that you have here.
Got it. Thank you so much, Prasanna. We have a question. I think we have time for one question and we can just address the rest individually. The first question is, are you leveraging regional ads and pricing insights to help clients with local growth?
Absolutely. So what we do when we work with a mega brand, let's say we work with Nike, then what we would do is we understand across shoes and socks and other product lines of Nike, across thousands, tens of thousands of representative source terms that are important. We're monitoring nationally across top countries. So it could be like US, UK, Japan, etc. By DMA, by region, by metro, Chicago, New York, down to zip code, county and zip code level. And we are monitoring Google intraday if necessary, and really using a lot of data to help Nike say, understand where they're strong, where they're weak. How does that vary by different weeks? How is pricing strategy changing? Is Hoka coming up with better promotions? Is Hoka going like strong in New York City come New York Marathon time, and so on? So we're doing a lot of this, and this is the way that we are uncovering where pockets of opportunity, reasons for softness. You might be thinking that your performance is phenomenal, but it might be you aren't doing well because another mega brand is really pushing hard at that time. But absolutely, what I was showing you is a glimpse of a strategy that we are applying to many brands.
Okay, next question I have is in relation to the LLMs. So Google, ChatGPT, and Perplexity are changing so much. What do I do if my brand is getting shown negatively?
Right. So what you want to understand is like collect data across your key lines of business. So there might be instances when it's negative. Okay. So you don't want that to bias your strategy. That's why I think stepping back, looking at what are important business lines, important markets, you pick that, then you use that to now monitor these important markets. And from that, you understand, okay, is my reputation weak in Perplexity because there was a terrible review on Walmart? Okay. And then understand, was the terrible review on Walmart from a third party seller who was not providing good customer service? Right. So monitor, understand macro level, in like city level down to business line level trends, uncover negativity where it is, and the where. What's the source? Is it coming from a specific site? Is it talking directly about the brand? Is it talking about resellers, affiliates? So unpack that, and then with that, you have a strategy. Like for example, you might just say, like, you might go back to your third-party sellers and say, I'm not going to sell it to you anymore because you are doing such a bad job. Or you might incentivize, and give trade promotion dollars to the really good ones. So that kind of a strategy allows you to midterm change the brand impression. That's the strategy I think you should do.
Also, building on the same ChatGPT questions, the second question is, um, how should we be monitoring our local presence on ChatGPT?
Right. So with respect to ChatGPT or any LLM, I would say you want to be asking questions, like it could be a bottom of the funnel type of a question. Right? Like for example, I was searching for what are good running shoes stores near me. So you want to ensure that you have those kinds of prompts that people are start asking these AI engines, and then you want to be asking the prompts for responses by the markets. On ChatGPT, again, go back to your important markets, ask these questions, and see what the results are coming. And with the results, as I was showing you, in a slide or two ago, you understand, are you even visible? If yes, like what's the ratings and reviews? What does ChatGPT say? So you have to be asking questions like broad questions, like almost like in the Google, like your seed questions, mid tail and long tail questions. Here you're asking like purchase questions, seed questions, mid tail questions in the prompt world, and asking and getting answers. That's what you should do.
I think that's a wrap up. I know, Prasanna, you wanted to show the last slide where you have some offers for our attendees today.
Yep. So this is a little bit about our business, and there you go.
Yeah, so this is the offer for if you are interested, you can share 20 keywords and 20 LLM prompts. You can email it to my email address there, deepti@growbydata.com, and we will get back to you with the summary report along with the strategy call. I hope you have a wonderful Wednesday. Thank you all for attending, and have a wonderful summer. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your attendance. This is a fascinating topic. I just touched on it. If you have questions, if you want to schedule time offline to talk about it, happy to do so. Thank you so much.